Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first meeting of 2023 of the City of Woodstock City Council. This hybrid meeting is being held in person here in council chambers and electronically in accordance with section 238 subsection 3.3 of the Municipal Act and section 16.6.24 of the City of Woodstock Procedure Bylaw. This meeting is being live streamed to the city's YouTube channel, and a recording will be posted on the city's website following the meeting. The meeting will also be broadcast on Rogers TV. An agenda of the meeting can be found on the agendas, meetings, and minutes page of the city's website. Councillors attending virtually will be raising their hands in view of their webcam when moving a motion, requesting to speak, and when a vote is being taken. If a member of council is disconnected or having technical difficulties, we will take a recess in order to attempt to rectify the issue. If technical difficulties exist that prevent the meeting from continuing, the meeting will be adjourned and reconvened at a later time. If a councillor attending virtually needs to leave the meeting at any time, they are requested to inform the clerk. And tonight, I do believe we have a couple of city staff that'll be virtual, so everybody is aware. Councillor Schattenberg will be reading the resolutions. Looking for no disclosure or any disclosures of conflict of interest tonight. No, seeing none. Matters arising from the minutes. And the minutes, Councillor Schattenberg.
Moved by myself, Councillor Mark Schattenberg, and seconded by Councillor Deb Tate, that the minutes of the regular meeting of Woodstock City Council held on December 15th, 2022 be adopted.
Questions, concerns? Discussion? I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Carried. There are no additions to the agenda tonight, no presentations or delegations, and consideration of planning reports. Councillor Lauder has requested the following correspondence be added to the agenda. Municipality of Greenstone resolution regarding the expansion of Bill 3. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council support the resolution for the municipality of Greenstone opposing the enactment of Bill 3, an act to amend various statutes with respect to special powers and duties of heads of council. And further, that this resolution be circulated to the municipality of Greenstone, the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honorable Steve Clark, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and the Honorable Ernie Hardeman, Oxford MP. And I'll speak to it when I get a second.
Looking for a seconder. Councillor Schattenberg. Councillor Lauder.
So this is a bill that initially applies to the City of Toronto and the City of Ottawa, but according to a statement by the Premier, will later be expanded to include other municipalities. This will give mayors additional authority and powers and correspondingly take away authority and powers from council and professional staff, and will include giving the mayor the authority to propose and adopt the municipal budget and to veto some decisions of council. This bill will give authority over professional staff to the mayor, including that of the CAO. The CAO, who currently provides objective information of council and public, and will now take direction from the mayor alone when the mayor so directs. This changes the historical balance of the power between the mayor and council. And I think this is really important for us to support, not that it will happen here now, but who knows in future years. So that's why I brought this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Schattenberg.
One of the biggest words that always comes up in municipal politics is transparency. So anytime you say, for example, have a public planning meeting or any kind of a public meeting and something therefore comes back to council and is passed, you'd hate to think that somebody in a strong mayor system might have the ability to veto something that has been suggested. And I'm not saying that would happen here in the city of Woodstock, but I think by the city of Woodstock confirming that we agree with the municipality of Greenstone, it shows that other communities also are not necessarily worried, but certainly putting up the red flag to say that this is something that we disagree with, as far as something that could be changed long-term, whether it goes to KW and Waterloo next, like the a region of Waterloo or the city of London or other areas, other municipalities in this area. And the one thing that you can find easily on the internet is comments from either lawyers or municipal lawyers or newspapers or other pundits that worry about this as well. And the one thing they say, this weak mayor system was characterized by compromise and concession amongst an elected council. And I saw that from a statement made by a municipal lawyer firm. And I just think, well, isn't that the whole purpose of why we're here, is to have a concession amongst an entire council? So that's one of the reasons why I certainly disagreed with bill number 3 and will vote in favor of this resolution.
Any other questions or comments? Well, I'll certainly speak in favor of this as well. I do have some concerns, even as a mayor. The democracy seems to be kind of taken away a little bit with some of the wording and everything the way it is. So I'll certainly be voting in favor of this as well because of that. So thanks to Councillor Lauder for bringing this forward. And you know, and saying that, sorry, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. Okay, thank you. Moving along to no staff presentations or mayor report, council reports, department reports. Looking for someone to move 2023 capital budget bylaw approval. Councillor Lauder, seconded by Councillor Leatherborough. Councillor Lauder.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council report regarding the 2023 capital budget bylaw approval to the bylaw section of the agenda.
Discussion. Councillor Schoenberg.
Maybe just a quick explanation from our CAO as to the fact that if anybody was watching city and county council yesterday, it was a much different process as far as the budget for 2023 versus what the city's doing now with the operating budget still in front of us.
Your worship, through to Councillor Schadenberg. I guess just to clarify, in the context of the county combines the two budgets into one process. So they review both the capital budget alongside the operating budget, which we refer to as the revenue fund budget, and they do it together. It combining the two of them increases the complexity of the exercise. We, the city, have always separated the two, keeping they're two very distinct and separate entities. We keep them separate. We find it's far easier to manage the understanding of the budgets, and it's just a cleaner process. So we prefer that as opposed to giving it all in one book and trying to do it all in one process.
Thanks a lot. Just want a clarification for anybody out there who's starting to figure out or calculate what their tax might be for 2023, that our process has not been completed yet.
Any other discussion, comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. Now to engineering. Route timing changes, looking for someone to move that. Councillor Tate, seconded by Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve revisiting the city of Woodstock transit routes to a 40-minute cycle between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. starting Monday, March 6, 2023.
Discussion? Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
I will say that I'm in favor of this, just based on the fact of the traffic of what the routes that we're speaking of. As a parent who has to drive their child to work on that area and that timeline of 3 to 5 p.m., it is extremely busy. The traffic is very high, and I can understand what the concern is with the routes not being able to keep up. And also we see a lot of ridership happening in that area with some of the manufacturers that are down there. So those folks sometimes could be waiting out there a little longer than they anticipate, thinking that it's coming every 30 minutes. So I think that this revision of the timing especially being someone that drives in that area is very, very worthwhile and definitely would be advantageous for all involved.
Any other discussion? Councillor Leatherborough?
I appreciate Councillor Wismer Van Meer's comments. I have some concerns about this because of families that I've heard from that do rely on the public service system between 3 and 5. Some of the elementary schools are dismissed at 3 and 3:15 and some at 3:30. So I'm not currently in favor of this change. I'm not sure if there's a suggestion for any other solution because it will impact people getting their children to and from school or the caregivers getting the youngsters to and from school or daycare. So those are some of my concerns. I didn't know if Harold could speak to that at all, of any suggestions, if you don't mind.
Your worship through the counselor. We understand those concerns. And it was something me and the transit supervisor and I struggled with. And basically what we kind of boiled down to was we feel the public feels that they need to know what time the bus is going to be there. They need the reliability. So we thought it would be safer and more public friendly to have to push in those 2 hours, to push the cycle back to a 40-minute cycle so everybody knew what time the bus was going to be there, rather than them risk the buses being late and then therefore missing their bus and end up having to be delayed a half hour instead. We understand that, it is a bit of an inconvenience because it makes the trip longer. But we thought that the reliability with the change took precedence over the shorter 30-minute cycle.
So thanks for that to the city engineer. And I guess my question, well, not my question, my observation is that if it's, 95% of the time we're trying to hit the 3-minute threshold, and currently in the last 6 to 12 months, it's highlighted 75%. I don't see that too significant quite yet to make that drastic change. So whether that's just comments, I think I did hear from some families that are concerned, weather permitting, if it's changed in March, if this happens, and just getting kids to and from the respectable places.
Your worship, we understand that, and through the counselor, sorry. And that it's something again we struggled with too. But then we decided, like, what's the cutoff point? Is it 75%? Is it 66%? Is it 50%? And then we thought, okay, 75%, that means you're running a 1 in 4 chance of missing your bus and being delayed an additional half hour. So when we kind of looked at it that way, we thought, I think we need to make the change, rather than basically, we thought a 1 in 4 chance is too high.
Councillor Wheaton?
Thank you, your worship. I appreciate the opportunity. I will say to council and to my peers that I'm not a transit expert, but I do have a few concerns about this. As our city continues to grow, our industry continues to grow, I don't see our traffic problems going away. It's obvious that over time, 5 years, 10 years, that our traffic will increase as we continue residential development in the north and beyond. We want our transit system to be, I understand this motion is about being reliable and predictable. However, I feel that this is a short-term temporary, I used the analogy earlier today, the literary analogy of it's putting a finger in the hole, in the crack in the dike, that we need a much bigger long-term picture of what a solution is, so that buses can circulate, people can get to their transfers, people can rely on knowing what time the bus will be coming. And so I guess the question is to the city engineer, what is there a plan in the works? Is there a timeline in the works for what because I don't want a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, us having the same conversation about 8 to 10 a.m. because that's now a critical time of traffic.
Your worship, through the counselor, you are correct. It is a short-term fix. You know that when we did the transit study in 2019, we actually, as part of that study, presented what we called at that time a future option, realizing that the current routes although new and are addressing the concerns of 2 years ago, we recognize that that it wasn't going to be a permanent solution. And so we did do a high level take on a future route system that would be able to serve a growing city more and handle the traffic more as well as handle peaks more. That is in the place. At the time, we didn't. I don't remember if the report said I know the report didn't say a specific date of when that would go in, but I know at the time the transit supervisor and we had discussions. He was thinking more at the time 2 to 5 years before we started looking at that future route system. I was thinking more 5 to 10. I'm starting to think he might be more accurate than me. But before we go into, yes, I think you're right. We don't want to keep doing stopgaps. So we have the beginnings of a future system, but we don't want to put that in place too early yet either, because it costs money to put it into place. It takes a lot of staff time, a lot of capital investment also, as well as. And I'm not saying we're going to go with what we talked about in that report, because I think we want to flesh that out a little bit better. That system also required an additional 5 more buses, which at $600,000 a pop is very investment. But that being said, I do think that we're probably going to end up having to look into placing, cracking the egg open all over again and putting some new systems in place sooner rather than later.
As a follow-up, is there a way, have we thought about a marketing strategy, a communication strategy, that if we go to the 40-minute timing change, to encourage more people to be on the bus during that 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock time frame, so that we do reduce the amount of traffic, and we're creating a dual solution then perhaps?
Your worship, through the councillor, the report does say that we are going to heavily advertise the change, so that people know, right? So that people can plan on being at their stop at 3:40 instead of 3:30, or the other things. Ridership has been growing. Woodstock Transit has pretty much reached pre-COVID rates right now for transit riders, which is better than almost any other municipality. A lot of the other municipalities are still at 2/3 to 75% of the pre-COVID rates. And I think a lot of that isn't due in part to the fact that people are finding those new routes more useful than the old routes were. So we hope that ridership will continue to grow. We keep advertising as much as we can, not just those specific hours, but all hours. The transit goes to the schools, also does training, goes to the senior centers, also does training. It's a bit of a catch-22 in there, that the more people ride, also the longer the route takes, because you have more boardings on and off, so the bus has to stop more often also. So you may have less cars, but you may end up stopping more also.
Thank you, through the chair. Just my very final comment. I just would encourage us to be as forward thinking as possible and as long range thinking on solutions. That as we add 1,000 residential units in the north, and we will continue to grow, that we can come up with some cutting edge solutions on what this might look like, and plan it out enough, so that we can service our community.
Your worship, through the councillor, yes, and that's one of the big advantages of that future system that we were talking about. Is it basically pulls a lot of the routes out of the transit terminal, so they no longer all have to meet there at the same time. So you can have routes that are now end up being different cycles, as long as they interconnect, so people can transfer from one bus to another, and then that way, instead of cracking open all the routes when you have to make a change, you can change one route at a time instead of having to change the whole system every time.
If I can just comment to that very briefly before I call Councillor Tate. I know a lot of work's been done, and may I ask you to share that report to all of council again from 2019, if that's possible? Because I know a lot of work was done at that time, and it was a great report as far as transit.
Your worship, through the council, your worship, through your worship. I will try to remember tomorrow morning to email it out. Otherwise, you don't want to wait that long. I think it should be on our municipal studies page on the website.
I encourage all of council then to read that, because it is quite interesting. But Councillor Tate?
Just through the chair, just to staff, I thought it was a very good report. Our staff don't usually do stopgap. And so that comment, that's not what it was. They always take the long-term consideration into it, but also very fiscally responsible. So yes, we realize that there's certain things that will have to change, but we have to be very fiscal responsible to our taxpayers. And our staff has always been on top of that. So I appreciate the report. Well done. And we'll be supporting it.
Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, thanks to the mayor through to Harold DeHaan again. Not that it's a possibility to stop all traffic for 2 or 3 minutes, but at the top of the hour and the bottom of the hour, all the buses are trying to leave. If you, for example, can't get your bus out of the spot at 4:02 or 4:03, that already puts you 3 minutes behind and trying to get through because there's so many other cars. That's a very busy intersection to say the least, especially people trying to turn into the Food Lane Dollarama lot.
Your worship, through the council, you are correct. And then to further exasperate that is the fact that we highly recommend the buses, we basically tell them you do not leave past 3:01 or 4:01, whatever. The problem is because it comes then when they know there's another bus that's behind schedule coming in that has riders that want to transfer. So then you juggle that ball of, do I wait and let those people transfer, or do I go? Because if I wait, I'm going to be making a whole bunch of other people and also I might not get back to the transfer terminal in time again next time.
Any other discussion? Okay, well, before I call a vote, I do want to throw out for the general public. I found this really interesting and so did most council when I shared this with them tonight. As our engineer mentioned, we're almost at pre-COVID numbers already. So good for city staff, of course, and the ridership, but I'm curious at home for those watching, how many times do you think individual trips were done in the month of December of 2022? I could give you 30 seconds here to think about that before I give you the answer. But just put a number in your head, how many individual trips you would think there would be in the month of December and the ridership of the buses. Okay, take a few seconds. Well, that number is actually 41,436 individual trips in the month of December alone of last year. So I know many of us get a lot of comments about the buses driving around. Sometimes they are 1 or 2 people in it, but I want the general public to know that our ridership is going through a huge steady incline. The month before was 37,000, month before that was 36,000. It's a very steady. January of 2022 was 21,830, almost double just in the year alone. So ridership numbers are there. This is a concern, and with a lot of complaints, I'm not sure how everybody gets them, but I get a lot of complaints about the buses being late and maybe trying to get to the routes and everything else. So I think this is a good way. Councillor Lauder.
I really want to thank you for that, and I hope we can get those figures out to the public, because I know we all, I think, at least I have certainly had complaints, but there's no one riding the buses and they're going around. And so I really appreciate that. And I was astonished at those figures. I had some ridiculous figure that I don't even want to mention it. Don't you even say. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
And I appreciate city staff. I do appreciate city staff sharing these because we do have to keep track. It's quite interesting. So at this point, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? 1, carried. Moving along, waiving of City of Woodstock rights of first refusal on 378 Woodall Way. I'm looking for a mover. Councillor Tate, seconded by Councillor Schadenberg. Councillor Tate.
The Woodstock City Council authorized the mayor and clerk to sign an agreement and the owners of the subject property as described in the report.
Discussion? Questions? Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, from the mayor through to, I guess, Maggie from Development to Commissioner Office. The idea of this, would this be a one-time only for a specific scenario? Or is this something that we could be suggesting to be put into long-term for other similar sized lots and different kind of developments like this.
Your worship, through to Councilor Schadenberg, this is kind of a one-off type of situation, so we get a number of situations revolving around this right of first refusal, so we look at those all individually, so that's kind of what we've done here. And when you kind of review the details in the report, the fact that they're going to build a second building, the fact that they're going to agree to our typical conditions of construction and coverage and that sort of thing on the second lot is something that we as staff are supporting. If they had said something different than that, then obviously we'd be making a different recommendation. But this is a real plus for the city. I mean, I think all of council is aware that we're pretty lacking in terms of the area of industrial land, and this is actually maximizing the use of a piece of industrial land.
Any other discussion or questions? I'll just add that I think this is a great way to, again, maximize the lot coverage under, again, we're getting basically twice the amount there than originally thought, so that's good. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And none opposed. Passed. Delegation of signing authority. Can I have a mover? Councillor Lauder? Seconded by Councillor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council refer the report regarding delegation of signing authority to the bylaw section of the agenda, and further that city policy GA 017, delegation of powers and duties, be updated accordingly.
Can you hear me? Okay, good, thank you. Any questions, comments on that? Sorry. Seeing none, so do we vote on that since we're moving to the bylaw section? We still do, yeah, okay. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? None opposed, thank you. Hey, we're all, some of us are all new here too, right? The Chief Administrator Officer, no. Strategic Planning Workshop Schedule. I have a mover on that, Councillor Tate, seconded by Councillor Wheaton. Go ahead, Councillor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council schedules a special council meeting for March 30th to 2023 at 1:30 PM for the purpose of participating in a strategic priorities workshop, and I'll speak to it.
Go ahead.
I just want to thank the CAO for organizing this and forward thinking instead of spending money on consultants and sitting down with council and having a discussion.
Any other, Councillor Schanberg?
Just want to make 2 points. First of all, if you watched CTV London News last night, you noticed that the municipality of London is doing the exact same thing. So they kind of had a preliminary news story on them starting out their process of doing a strategic planning seminar system. And everyone that is on city council, we all automatically subscribe to a magazine called Municipal World. And here's a quote from one of their writers about strategic planning. If you don't know where you are going, you will never get there. If an organization doesn't know where it is headed, its priorities will change constantly with little engagement or commitment from its employees. A strategic plan is a roadmap for success. It provides direction and focus for all employees and outlines specific goals and a course of action for achieving them. And that's from our Municipal World magazine that we all subscribe to.
I'm gonna briefly add on that. That is something that the CAO and I discussed right away as soon as we got in. We've been talking about this from the get-go. We wanted to get through the initial budget there. You know, that was so brand new. I do appreciate, I think there's so much wealth of knowledge. All of us have been out and talking to so many people that why not use that? And let's not forget that, but also welcome even those that ran before and just the general public to come in at a meeting as a whole. I guess if that would be considered, that it's not quite as formal, but you know, give opportunities to speak and talk and discuss. So quite excited for this. And I think this will give us as a council a priority going forward for the next 4 years, give us some clear agenda items to deal with. Councillor Wheaton.
I totally agree. Thank you, Mayor Accioni. I think a strategic plan is a tremendous opportunity for us to come together as a council, senior staff, and our community. And as I've already mentioned about being forward thinking, to not just look at the next 4 years, but to lay out some long-term priorities. As I said, as our community continues to grow and that we can very measurably check off what we're accomplishing throughout this term of council and demonstrating to the community that that we're hearing them, we're listening, and we're providing the services that are needed and in demand. So I'm really looking forward to the process. Will there be, I know our first initial is about council joining together. Will there be opportunity for public input throughout the process?
Sure.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Wheaton's question, there will be. The plan would be at first is to have that workshop and try to get that list, that updated list. And then from there, we'll work with our manager of marketing and communications and do the consultation process before bringing it back to council for final approval.
Thank you. I think the community will appreciate that opportunity to have their voice heard. Thank you.
I agree with you as well. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. No special committees, no notice of motion, no new business, draft bylaws. Counselor Schenberg,
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Liz Wismer Van Meer, that the following bylaws be given a first and second reading. 9568-23, a bylaw to amend City of Woodstock Municipal Code, Chapter 51, read the Environment Advisory Committee. 9569-23, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10 as amended. 9570-23, a bylaw to adopt a 2023 capital budget for the city of Woodstock. 9571-23, a bylaw to provide for the dedication and naming of parts of highways in the city of Woodstock. 9572-23, a bylaw to provide for the delegation of powers and duties by council in order to authorize the city engineer or designate to execute and sign certain documents on behalf of the corporation of the city of Woodstock.
questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Carried, none opposed. Counselor Schenberg,
That the following bylaws be given a third and final reading, 9568-23 through to 9572-23.
thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? None opposed. Carried. Thank you. Well, that, we went through that pretty quick. Yeah. Tonight we are going to start with Councillor Leatherborough. Adjournment. Yeah.
I hope everyone had a lovely holiday season. The weather, I think, slowed everyone down to some capacity, but just some remarks that at the end of the month is Roma. So it is a conference held in Toronto, Rural Ontario Municipalities Association. So it'll be my first conference, which I am very excited and eager to attend with some of our colleagues, but also to be in a room filled with other municipal leaders and intelligent bunch that I can hopefully learn from. And as well, just thanks to Colleen from our communications department for creating the online survey that is available until January 31st in regards to downtown Museum Square and seating. Do please check it out online, fill it out and send it to anyone that you think would be interested in submitting their feedback. So thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. I'm pleased to announce that the Woodstock Art Gallery has been provided with the distinctive and special honor of presenting at the High Commission of Canada in the United Kingdom, the exhibition of paintings by prominent artist John Hartman. Many lives mark this place, feature 9 large-scale portraits of award-winning Canadian authors in the landscapes that inspire them, of providing a visual and literary overview of Canada from coast to coast. The exhibition will open on Thursday, January 19th and run until April the 1st, 2023, and is located at the Canada House, Canada Gallery in Trafalgar Square, London, England. And I think that's quite an honor for our art gallery. And for anyone out there who needs to renew their passport, you can now do it in Woodstock. My husband applied for his on December 21st, and it was delivered to our house yesterday. So that is fantastic. You don't have to go to London and sit there and wait for your turn. He just went in and no time. It's really simple. And I also want to let people know that the Woodstock Nonprofit Apartment Building on Nella Street, which I'm part of that board, it's now available for rent. There's 98 units there, and it's quite a fabulous building. And they will be having a ribbon cutting in April, in which all council will be invited to it. And so we're really excited about this, and hopefully we get it filled quickly. So thank you.
Councillor Wheaton.
Thank you. So now that you've let the cat out of the bag about Service Canada, I have to get there tomorrow so that before everyone else in Woodstock learns that they can now renew their passport locally. Again, I hope that all of my colleagues enjoyed a relaxing break. I know it was well-deserved for many of our senior staff who have been working very, very hard over 2022. Looking very much forward to 2023. I know a number of boards and committees began meeting for this term of council. It's very exciting to see the community coming together. So many volunteers that are sitting at those boards and committees. It's a delight. Sat with Councillor Schadenberg at Woodstock Recreation Advisory Committee the other night, Library Board, and I know that we all have our commitments at these boards. So yeah, it's great to be getting to work and starting to see some of these changes and the new term of council taking shape.
Thank you. We'll go to Councillor Tate.
Yeah, just as we said yesterday, we finished up budget at county council, and as I keep saying, I think all of Oxford County needs to pay attention what goes on in those chambers and follow more closely. A lot of money is spent. I would like to thank our mayor. He spoke very well. We tried to remove something that's going to cost double the price if we had just waited. So I kind of, the long-term thinking, it was all short-term thinking that happened yesterday. So please pay attention. And I want to thank again our mayor for trying to remove that to save some money. But yeah, people need to start paying attention what's going on in that chamber because it affects everybody. That's it.
Thank you. Councillor Wismer Van Meer.
Just a few things that I wanted to highlight. And again, I hope, echoing what most said here, hope everyone had a restful and a relaxing holiday season. I know I definitely did, so I feel very recharged for 2023. Just kind of going on what Councillor Leatherborough mentioned about the survey. I did have some people mention to me, well, what if I don't have access to online, asking some questions. Please, if you know somebody in your neighborhood, somebody within your workplace, or a family member that does not have access to that, I'm sure a lot of us have laptops, iPads, our trusty phones. Please visit those folks and read those questions with them and allow them to have their comments, because we really do want to hear from everybody in the community. So please make sure you're giving them that ability to have their say as well. A couple of things. There's some great theater coming up in our area over the next few weeks. Theater Woodstock, the Stages Juniors group, that's the Little Gaffers at the theater, are doing a couple of productions, and that starts actually tomorrow and runs this weekend. They'll also be doing Guys and Dolls in February. And this is a concert version. This is going to be a really great production. So if you haven't had a chance to get back to Theater Woodstock, I highly suggest you get out there and do that, because they do a fantastic job there. I also want to thank Colleen from the Marketing Communications Manager here. She sent along a quick blurb to us here on Park after many years of not being able to do some theater, are doing a modernizing and adapting element of Shakespeare's comedy classic, A Midsummer Night's Dream. Heard them this morning on Heart FM talking about it as well. And that's happening in February into March. So lots of great local theater. Get out there and support these folks. These are people in your neighborhood as well. These are our youth. And I think it's really great to get out there and support them as well. A couple of local things happening that I really encourage folks to check out. Big Brothers Big Sisters, we have our Play for Kids Day coming up. It's a great time to get out and have some fun. Bowling, indoor golf, or curling. And also the coldest night of the year is coming up at the end of February. They shared some fundraising numbers and already sitting in second place. So let's get them back into first place and support those folks as well.
And last but not least, Counselor Shanberg.
I thought I was gonna be fourth and I ended up being sixth here, Jerry, so I'm.
That's why I did it to you, actually. I saw you turn your microphone on.
Anyway, one of the committees I've joined for the first time, I was on it last term, was the Woodstock Museum Advisory Board, and we had our first meeting this past week, and this is the 75th birthday or 75th anniversary of the Woodstock Museum. And so they're having a tea on Saturday, January the 28th, but it's been so popular when they put out the invitations that they've actually got the second floor of the museum already full that day for their tea. So that's how successful the promotion has been for that. And it opened in 1948, the museum, but of course, at that point in time, City Hall was on the main floor and the museum was on the second floor. Now the museum is the entire building over there. And of course, we've been over here since I believe 1968, as far as the City Hall being in this building, the former city post office. A couple of things I want to mention. First of all, the Woodstock Minor Ball Association is starting their registrations on January the 16th. So if there's a sign of spring, that's it. Not that we've been burdened with quite a winter so far, but Woodstock Minor Baseball.com is their website, January the 16th. And it's what's really hard to believe is I looked at some of the age groups. You can register a child that's a 2020 baby, probably still a baby, to play blast ball, that sport, as far as the Minor Ball Association goes. So they're starting them young. WoodstockSoccer.com is where you can sign up for outdoor soccer registrations. That starts on February 1st. I just want to be equal with soccer and with minor ball. So that's what I wanted to mention tonight. Thanks.
And thank you so much. I guess on the talking about coldest night of the year from Councillor Wismer Van Meer, I wanted to put the challenge out to my fellow councillors. If anybody would like to join a team, I'm going to enter a team in. I would love to have us as a council team. That's February 25th, correct? Yes, February 25th. I would have to check the time offhand. My apologies, but we can certainly. What's that? Well, that's fine. You can sponsor me too. Yeah. But 4 o'clock. Thank you, Councillor Wismer. 6 till 7. Yes, I believe that is correct, actually. So, but I would like to, there's a lot of, think of it this way, Operation Sharing, this is one of their single largest funding opportunities. And we all know the importance right now of having organization of Operation Sharing here in the city. So I really put that challenge out. And everybody at home to get out, if you can't participate and raise funds, to please be generous to someone that is raising funds. Okay. Looking forward to, I'm actually going to be attending London, England next week for the grand opening at the High Commission of Canada. I'm extremely excited to represent the not only City Council, but also all the residents of the city of Woodstock. We are accepting the opportunity now to also go to Woodstock, Oxfordshire. So to see where kind of the origins and see some of the other buildings there in England. So really, really excited for that opportunity. It is going to be a quick trip back, of course, with Roma right around the corner as well. So we'll be attending and representing City of Woodstock, but also the County of Oxford as the deputy warden there. So I'm excited for those opportunities, along with Councillor Wheaton and Councillor Leatherborough, who's going to be in attendance to that. So again, talked about transit. Please keep in mind, patience. If you see our buses, I'm also going to ask you to give a little patience as well around them. Be cautious. Ridership levels are getting up there. No different than school buses. You could see people running around them and everything else. So just give them the courtesy and give them the space, please, for everybody's safety. And a quick reminder again to the online survey for the Downtown Museum Square. Excited to see that and any comments you might have. And with that, that is everything. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Tate, seconded by Councillor Schadenberg. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Good evening, everybody. Thank you.